Okay guys, how's everybody doing today? Welcome back to Music City Model Works. Hope everyone's had a great work week so far. A few things going on the work table here today. Give you an update on what I've got going on. I actually did a video the other night, and the upload went fairly fast, about 15 minutes I guess, and the processing started, and it started out at like 40 minutes left to complete. The time started climbing to 45, 50, 60, 80, 100. This was like Monday night about, I don't know, 7 or 8 o'clock. By the time 10 o'clock rolled around, it still had like 104 minutes, and so I left it. At noon the next day, Tuesday, it was still processing, so I figured something was wrong, and I deleted it and decided to do this one. So I'm gonna kind of cram two updates into one. First off, I want to give you an update on what I've got done, and then we're going to do a little airbrushing of the craft acrylics for the interior of the car. Just a real quick catch up on kind of what's been done to the car so far. I got the motor built, pretty much box stock except for spark plug. I ran some spark plug wires and a fuel line. And the fuel line, I don't know if you can see it or not, is it's a resistor from Radio Shack. You get like a pack of them, costs like, I don't know, $8. You get like 50 in a pack, and it's kind of hard to see, but there's the resistor itself is like serves as the inline fuel filter for the fuel line. Pretty neat, pretty much in scale, and I've got it ran and hooked up into the fuel pump. On the motor, I dechromed the valve covers and actually went over them with a silver leafing marker from made by Krylon, which you can get at Hobby Lobby for about $8. I dull coated the air cleaner. I'm kind of going with a brushed satin look here. The side exhaust pipes are going to be they came molded in the molded plastic color, white, so they weren't chrome, so I'm just going to go with probably the same silver leaf marker, kind of a brushed aluminum polished stainless look, not really chrome but fairly close, and kind of go with the theme that the motor's got going on. The transmission is just aluminum, kind of an aluminum color, mixed with I believe metallic silver, craft acrylic, platinum, and a little bit of the folk art metallic gunmetal to kind of give it the aluminum color, and just black craft acrylic mixed with the satin polyurethane and Windex and washer fluid, and then when it dried, went back over it with the satin poly to seal it up and kind of give it the sheen that it's got, which I think turned out pretty nice. And then did just a little bit of dry brushing. I don't know if you can see it up on the suspension, a little burnt orange and some rust red, just to kind of just a little bit, just to touch up a little bit of the raised surfaces, the bolts, and some of the highlight to highlight some of the areas on the suspension. This is not going to be a trailer queen. It's going to be a semi-show car, one that you can drive to the show, and you don't put it in a trailer. You drive it and you drive it back home. So that's where we're at with that. All right, let's. I wanted to do a little airbrushing. I know you've seen this before with some of the other guys' channels. Chris at Classic Plastics done this, I know, a few times. So thought I'd let you check out what I'm going to do. Kind of going to go along the same line as what he does. My mix may be just a little bit different, not much. What we're going to do, we're going to go with, the interior is going to be two colors. It's going to be Delta Ceramic Coat Ocean Reef Blue and this Anita's Cobalt Blue. I didn't want it actually this light, and I didn't really want it this dark, so we're going to go with about a 50-50 mix to kind of halfway come up with a medium blue, not a dark and not a light blue. So let's go ahead and get started, so we can try to keep this video under 15 minutes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put, let me move this back out of the way. We'll start with the Ocean Reach Blue. I'll try to keep my hands out of the way as much as I can. Just a little bit more. Might be better if I do it this way. There we go. And about the same amount of the Cobalt Blue. Maybe not quite as much. And we'll go back with the Satin Poly. Now you want to use satin. You don't want to use the gloss, and you don't want to use feature, because you don't want your upholstery to have a shiny look to it unless you're pretending that it has Armor All or something on it like that. And what I try to do, I'll try to go with about half and half on the washer fluid and the Satin Poly. So basically 1/2 paint to 1/4 satin to 1/4 of the washer fluid for our mix. And then, like I said, that's a start, and then we can adjust as we get it mixed up. So, and if my hand's in the way, I apologize, but I have my camera basically in about the only decent spot where you can see anything, and I can still get to my air compressor. Now, as Chris has told you, I'm sure in his videos, that the craft acrylic is a little brittle, so you want to make sure that you're actually using some sealer in with your paint, the Satin Poly in with your mix, but you still want to go back over it with some type of sealer, whether it be a dull coat, whether it be, like I said, on the upholstery, you want it to be something, a flat color, a matte. You can use the satin polyurethane, or they also make the satin polyurethane in a matte finish as well, so it kind of comes out more of a flat color. So, okay, here's what we've got so far. With the mix we've got. Now what I like to do, that's going to be a little bit thick, I can tell you already. Okay, there we go. That's not too bad. That's a little better than I thought. What I try to do with my mix is to try to have a drop like one every second. So 1, 2, a little bit thick, not too bad. 1, 2, that's pretty close. I think we can live with that. You don't want it too thin, because what it'll do is, with the pressure that I run in my airbrush, which is usually about 22 to 25 pounds, is it will try to actually it will hit it, and it will try to spread it out and blob it out. I guess would be the technical term for it. You just want it to be light enough that it can pick it up, but you don't want it too thin to where it actually runs on you. So, we've got our pressure set to about 24 pounds. Okay, I don't know if I'll use my hand. That's about all we want right there. Maybe just a tad more. Because you're going to be getting into some deep recesses, and you don't want your paint to pool up in the corners. So, and I hope you can see this fairly well. Put just a little bit more. There we go. Now it's going to take probably a couple of coats anyways to get this like you want it. Another thing about craft acrylic is that it dries very quickly, so you are constantly wanting to make sure that your tip is not getting dry on you, because it will, especially with polyurethane in it. Polyurethane dries quickly and it will clog up in your tip very quickly if you're not careful. So what I have with me is I have usually right close by I have a container of, I got warm tap water mixed with some rubbing alcohol, and periodically I will stick the tip of the brush down in there and just clean the tip off, and then you know, go back to brushing. If you don't make your mix up too thick, you shouldn't have any trouble. But if you have your paint on a little on the thick side, it will dry up, you know, fairly quick on you if you're not careful. And I apologize if you're not seeing all of this. There's my phone ringing, but I'm going to ignore it. Okay, now we'll come back and go over this again later on, or I will off camera. I want to get the door panels done. Also, while I've got my paint mix like I like it. Like I said, the interior is going to be this color blue. I'm going to leave the dashboard is going to be black, and this is kind of going to go with the Deja Blue, dark blue metallic paint. We're going to paint the exterior of the body. Tester's one coat lacquer. sometimes you have to make adjustments that will start to, your brush tip may start to collect a little paint in it. And it may be a little more difficult to get paint to come out, so you open up your tip just a little bit. Now this is a single action airbrush. You can throw all this advice out when it comes to double action, you know, airbrushes. I have a double action. I have a double action Pache. This is the Pache, just a little starter airbrush. Works fine for what what I'm going to be doing here today. Interiors, engines, and what have you. Now, when I'm airbrushing bodies, a lot of times I will go up to and use the Pache H. We'll have a number 5 tip in it, and it picks up and sprays a heavier pattern than these do. These don't. You can't replace these tips. You know, they come with one tip, and you can only adjust the pattern, you know, on the airbrush itself. But with the Pache H and the other brushes, you can adjust. The Pache H also is a single action airbrush, but you can replace the air tip in the brush and down to a 3, all the way down to a number 1 tip, which would be for like fine, you know, t-shirt work, stuff like that. But there you see kind of what you can do with the craft acrylic. I'll go back over it off camera. I just wanted to give you a little idea of kind of what you can get out of the craft acrylic. It lays down very well, as you can see. It's almost, you can see it drying. I don't know if you can on with this light or not, but you can already see the edges starting to dry. It actually laid down very nicely. I'm going to touch up just a little bit here where this one's pretty much all the way dried. And once you get your base coat laid down, it's kind of like when you're spraying, you know, a body. You mist coat, you get some layers laid, and now you can go back kind of a little bit heavier, and you can really start to lay down your paint, your color. Now that you've got, you don't have to worry so much about the running. Now, I did prime these parts ahead of time. I think, you know, some people do, some people don't prime their smaller parts. I like to when I'm using the craft acrylic. It just gives, to me, it just gives the craft acrylic a little bit more to grab hold of and bite a little easier. I've used it both ways. For me anyway, I think priming helps a lot. Others may not agree, but you know, to each his own. So and like I said, now when I get through with all the color I'm going to put on, I'm going to let this dry. And I may actually go back with one more coat, just to darken the coat up. Now what will happen is these craft acrylics will dry darker than when they go on. In other words, it's kind of like, I don't know, I've had some house paint do that. The interior house paint will dry a little bit darker than, you'll put it on, you'll go away for, you know, an hour or so, and you'll come back, my gosh, that's, you know, that's a little bit darker than I actually thought it was. But same way with this. It's a little, you can already see that it's a little darker than what we mixed up. Here's, well, you can't really see it now because I wiped most of it off, but here's kind of the color that we wiped off the mixed, the stick we mixed with, and then you can see it's a little bit darker, not much, but and it's also dried on there some too. So, but there's what you can do with craft acrylic, and you know, you don't have to have a $150 airbrush, just you know, a decent airbrush that you can adjust the paint flow, the airflow a little bit. Hey, you have you've got a fairly cheap alternative to model paint. Seal it up. I'll go back and seal it up with some craft polyurethane sealer. Put some probably a coat of that on after it dries, and that'll seal it up enough to handle. You know, you're not going to be throwing your models around like like a football. So once you get them put together, they're going to go on your shelf and they'll be fine. You're not going to get them down and play with them. Your kids are not going to be playing with them, so they should be fine. But just wanted to show you that. I'm going to call this one a wrap for today. Until I see you again, talk to you again rather. Hope everyone has a great rest of the week. Take care of one another. God bless you and your family. Talk to you later.